دوستان، خانم و آقایان، سلام عرض می‌کنم خدمتتون. من کامل شهروز هستم، مجری برنامه امروز. میخواستم به یکایی که شما خیر مردم بگم، ازتون تشکر بکنم که امروز این روز سرد یکشنبه اومدین که در این گردهمایی با ما شرکت بکنین. قبل از هر چیزی میخواستم قدردانی بکنم از آقای دکتر رضا مریدی و آقای علی احساسی که با دعوتشون همه ما اینجا جمع شدیم. و همینطور بعد از قدردانی از این دو عزیز میخواستم که همه به یاد داشته باشن کدوم نمایندگان ایرانی-کانادایی مقیم تورنتو از این برنامه حمایت کردن و کدوم ها حمایت نکردن. دوستان، خواهش میکنم لطفاً تلفناتون رو خاموش کنین یا لااقل صداشو کم بکنین. اگر عکس میگیرین یا فیلم میگیرین لطفاً از جلو بگیرین. دوستانی که شرکت میکنن شاید نخوان صورتشون تو عکس باشه. Let's get started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to this event in solidarity with the people of Iran. اولین کاری که میخوایم بکنیم ازتون میخوام که لطفاً همه بیستین برای سرود ملی کانادا و برای سرود ای ایران. I ask everybody to rise for O Canada and ای ایران.
ای ایران ای مرز پرگوهر، ای خاکت سرچشمه هنر، دور از تو اندیشه بدان، پاینده مانی و جاودان. دشمن ار تو سنگ خانه ای من آهنم، جان من فدای خاک پاک میهنم. مهر تو چون شد پیشم، دور از تو نیست اندیشم. در راه تو کی ارزشی دارد این جان ما، پاینده باد خاک ایران ما. جهان و دور آسمان بپاس، نور ایزدی همیشه رهنمای ماست. مهر تو چون شد پیشم، دور از تو نیست اندیشم. در راه تو کی ارزشی دارد این جان ما، پاینده باد خاک ایران ما. We see the rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anami. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kaveh Shahruz. I'm the MC for the event today. Welcome to this event in solidarity with the people of Iran. Over the past 2 weeks, we've seen Iranian people courageously rise up in cities, towns, and villages across Iran, bravely facing down security forces that are wielding guns and batons. Like all of you, I've been following these events very closely, and I've marveled at the protesters' bravery, but I've also seethed with frustration at the commentators who've been saying that it's hard to interpret what the protesters want, or that the situation is too complex or too nuanced for us to understand. There is nothing complicated about what's happening in Iran today, ladies and gentlemen. It's one of those cases where the battle lines between good and evil are very clearly drawn. On the one side is a brutal theocracy that for nearly 40 years has oppressed and brutalized its citizens. It's committed crimes against humanity, it's imprisoned activists and journalists, it's implemented gender and religious apartheid. On the other side are unarmed protesters demanding dignity and justice. And it's not hard to know what these protesters want. All you need to do is listen to their slogans and their chants. These protesters are not facing bullets because they want to reform a system that time and again has proven itself incapable of reform. These courageous men and women are not staring down the Iranian regime's barbarism and brutality because they want to get their votes back, votes cast in elections where the candidates are pre-approved. These modern-day heroes, our brothers and sisters, are in the streets demanding economic justice, democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. Our brave brothers and sisters are saying no to theocracy in its angry hardline form, in its smiling reformist form. They're saying no to thieving government officials who have plundered the national treasury, filled their own pockets, and spent foolishly on conflicts abroad. They're saying no to 40 years of human rights violations, executions, torture, rape, and imprisonment. They're saying yes to democracy, economic fairness, and respect for citizens' civil and political rights. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it's our duty to join them in that. It's our duty to help amplify their message. It's our duty to let our government officials know that we expect them to speak in support of the courageous men and women fighting in Iran. We also have another obligation. Our obligation is to push back against those who would undermine the courage of those protesters. We have to push back. We have to push back against so-called community groups, so-called congresses or councils that claim to speak for all of us, and who say that they're concerned about violence by all sides in this conflict. As if there is some moral equivalence between protesters burning trash cans and a state committing mass atrocities against its citizens for 40 years. Those statements are shameful, and we ought to speak out against them. And we also have to push back against public officials who claim that Iranians ought to sit down and negotiate with their, quote, elected officials, as if there are real elections in Iran, as if the sheep and the wolf can sit down at the negotiating table and work out their problems together. Such statements are shameful, and we ought to speak out against it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a couple of hours here together today, but I want you to think of this not as the end of activism, but as the beginning of an activist process. We're here today, joined by public officials, and I'm so grateful that you guys are here. Let's build a movement and support our brothers and sisters fighting so bravely in the streets. The organizers of this event have issued a statement, which I think is important to read both in Farsi and English. So for those of you that speak both languages, I apologize for the repetition, but I think it's important. برگزار کنندگان گردهمایی امروز همبستگی خود با مردم ایران را به ویژه با زنان و مردان شجاعی که در هفته گذشته به خیابان‌ها آمدند اعلام می‌دارند. ما برگزار کنندگان خواسته‌های معترضین در زمینه‌های مردم سالاری، رعایت حقوق بشر و عدالت اجتماعی و اقتصادی را تایید و منعکس می‌کنیم. جمهوری اسلامی از بدو تولد یک حکومت استبدادی خشونتبار را بر مردم ایران تحمیل کرده است. پارلمان کانادا در سال 2013 رفتارهای این حکومت را به عنوان جنایت علیه بشریت به رسمیت شناخت. جمهوری اسلامی نظامی است که تبعیض جنسیتی و مذهبی را به مردم ایران تحمیل کرده و همچنین شکنجه و قتل کنشگران سیاسی، روزنامه‌نگاران، فعالان کارگری و بسیاری دیگر از هم‌میهنان را اعمال کرده است و با گسترش فساد و سوء مدیریت فقر را برای ایرانیان به ارمغان آورده است. ما به برادران و خواهرانی که در خط اول جبهه مبارزات فداکاری می‌کنند می‌پیوندیم و نظام جمهوری اسلامی را برای کوتاهی در حفظ آزادی‌ها و عدم رعایت و احترام به حقوق بشر محکوم می‌کنیم. ما از جمهوری اسلامی می‌خواهیم به مسئولیت خود بر اساس میثاق بین‌المللی حقوق مدنی و سیاسی عمل نماید. آزادی بیان و آزادی اجتماعات را رعایت نماید، از اعمال خشونت‌آمیز بر علیه تظاهر کنندگان دست بردارد و به بازداشت کسانی که در تظاهرات صلح‌آمیز شرکت می‌کنند پایان دهد. ما با کمال احترام از دولت کانادا و به ویژه نخست وزیر درخواست می‌کنیم از خواسته‌های برحق مردم ایران برای دستیابی به آزادی و دموکراسی پشتیبانی کنند. دولت ما باید جمهوری اسلامی را برای هر گونه اعمال خشونت علیه اعتراضات مسالمت‌آمیز مسئول بداند. The organizers of today's event wish to express their solidarity with the people of Iran, particularly the brave men and women who have taken to the streets in the past weeks. We wish to echo and amplify the protesters' demands for democracy, protection of human rights, and economic and social justice. Since its inception, the Iranian government has imposed a brutal dictatorship on Iranian citizens. It's committed crimes against humanity as recognized by Canada's Parliament in 2013. It's imposed a system of gender and religious discrimination. It's imprisoned, tortured, and murdered political activists, journalists, labor activists, and many others. It has also, through corruption and mismanagement, brought poverty to millions of Iranians. We join our brothers and sisters who are on the front lines of the protest in Iran in condemning the Iranian government for all of its failures to protect democracy and respect human rights. We call on the Iranian government to adhere to its obligations under the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and to permit free expression and assembly for the protesters, cease all violence against peaceful protesters, and to refrain from detaining anyone for the peaceful exercise of his or her rights. We also respectfully request that the Government of Canada, and in particular the Prime Minister, express Canada's support for the Iranian people's legitimate demands for freedom and democracy. Our government must hold Iran to account for any violence against peaceful protesters. I'd like to welcome to the stage one of the organizers of this event, a figure well known and loved in our community, Dr. Reza Moridi.
Thank you very much, Kaveh, and thank you, everyone. I want to begin by thanking the organizers of this event who spent time and in the past few days to get this event organized. As you know, it's not easy to organize this kind of events in a very short time, so thank you very much. I don't want to name them because there are many of them and they work day and night, so thank you from the bottom of my heart for your dedication and also for your hard work. I also want to thank my parliamentary colleagues here, the Honourable Peter Kent, the Honourable David Zimmer, I haven't finished yet. The Honourable Stephen Del Duca, Minister of Transportation. MP Michael Levent, yes. The Chair of Human Rights Committee at the House of Commons. And of course, my very good friend, Ali Ehsasi, our MP over here. I also want to thank every one of you for taking the time to be here today, this afternoon, to show our solidarity with 80 million people in Iran. As you know, 80 million people of Iran, they have risen to raise our voices, their voices against dictatorship in our homeland, in our country of birth, Iran. The dictatorship regime in Iran started in 1979, at the moment this regime took the office. And in that very moment, they start execution, they start rape, and afterwards, of course, war and instability around the world. People of Iran don't like this regime. People of Iran have spoken many, many times, but this is the last time people of Iran are speaking. They don't want this regime. They want this regime to be abolished. They have spoken loud and clear. They have said, "Marg bar Khamenei." They have said, "Marg bar Rouhani." They have said, "Marg bar Jumhuri Islami." They have been very clear. They have been very clear. The world have heard their voice. They don't want this regime. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Khamenei, Mr. Rouhani, they should have heard this voice. What they should do, they should resign. They should leave the office. That's what people of Iran want. They should immediately leave the office and pave the path for a transitional government to take over the affairs of Iran. That's what the people of Iran want. And that's why we are here, to show our solidarity with the people of Iran. And we want every democratic country around the world should come out and support the Iranian people. Iranian people, 80 million Iranian people, they need our support. They need our moral support. They don't need us physically or materialistically. They need our moral support. The world's leaders should understand that democracy, rule of law in Iran is in the interest of the entire globe. Stability in Iran is going to bring peace and stability not only to the Middle East, but to the whole world. They should understand this, and some leaders around the world, they have understood this. But there are others, there are a couple at the United Nations Security Council who don't understand this, who didn't understand this. They should. Ladies and gentlemen, there are several speakers online, so I'm going to stop here, but I'm going to say to every one of you, to all Iranians in our country of birth, Iran, that ایرانیان از کرانه‌های خلیج فارس تا دریای مازندران، از خوزستان تا ترکمن صحرا، از بلوچستان تا آذربایجان، از خراسان تا بختیاری و لرستان و کردستان، همه ایرانیان به پا خواستند و این رژیم را نفی کردند. همه ایرانیان از هر قوم و طایفه‌ای، به هر زبانی که صحبت می‌کنند، به هر سنتی که دارند، به هر عقیده و دین و مذهبی که دارند، همه ایرانی هستند. همه قرن‌ها و قرن‌ها و قرن‌ها در کنار همدیگر زندگی کردند و این پرچم شیر خورشیدسان پرچم مشترک همه ایرانیان بوده که همه ما را دور هم جمع کرده در طول قرن‌ها. و ما همچنان متحد و متفق خواهیم بود و آنانی که میگویند ایرانیان متحد نیستن بیاین ببینن در همین سالن، ببینن که چطور ایرانیان با افکار و عقاید متفاوت همه امروز اینجا جمع شدیم سر یک چیز و اون ایران. ایران 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 ایران، پاینده ایران، پاینده ایران. جاوید کشور عزیز ما کانادا. Long live Canada. Long live Iran. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. میگویچ. مرسی. تشکر. با درود.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Moridi. Thank you very much, Dr. Moridi, the MPP for the riding of Richmond Hill. Dr. Moridi was kind enough to recognize a lot of the dignitaries that are with us today. One person, unfortunately, neglected was Mr. Garnet Genius, MP from Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan. Thank you very much for being here. So it's now my pleasure to introduce the co-host for this event, the MP from the riding of Willowdale, Mr. Eli Assasi.
Hello, everyone. It's a great honor and a great pleasure to be here with all of you today. I know we've all gone through an incredibly difficult week. We've been trying to piece together what has been going on in Iran, and it has been absolutely dreadful. And what I did want to say is that we can stand very, very proud of the people of Iran. We can stand proud of the people of Mashhad. We can stand proud. Jeez, I really do get emotional about this stuff. We can we can stand incredibly proud of the people of Iraq. We can stand incredibly proud of the people of Tabriz. We can stand incredibly proud of the people of Bandar Abbas, of the people of Iraq, and all people throughout Iran. They have truly, truly made us all proud, and we can stand tall, demanding the very same things that they have been demanding over the course of the past week. But allow me to first start off by thanking Dr. Moridi, who has always stood with Iranians, but also the incredible committee that pulled this event together. I know full well, I wasn't here for a few days, but I know that they worked around the clock to make this possible, and I'm incredibly proud to be associated with them and to stand with them. So, allow me to say this. مطالبات مردم ایران رو همگی ما شنیدیم و شکی نیست که تمامی مطالبات مدنی که مردم ایران در عرض این یک هفته به گوش ما رسوندن مطالبات به حق مردم ایران هستش. کوچکترین تردیدی نداشته باشیم که این صحبت هایی که میشه که در مورد تمامیت ارضی و حفظش و اینکه این شلوغی ها آخر عاقبت نداره درست نیستش. مردم ایران به درستی میدونن و احساس کردن با گوشت و استخون خودشون در این 40 ساله که با یک دولت مستبد طرف هستن. What we have been hearing, I suppose I should switch. What we have been hearing is that Iranians are telling you from coast to coast that there is absolutely no political accountability in Iran. They are sick and tired of the moral bankruptcy of the Islamic Republic of Iran. They know full well that the regime engages in cronyism and corruption, and they are looking for solutions. So we should thank them for having spoken boldly in favor of their civil rights. And we're also here to acknowledge these incredibly brave people who day after day have stood before the goons of the Iranian government, but have spoken loudly and proudly. We are here to acknowledge the over 20 people who gave their lives. So if I could ask you all to join me for a moment of silence in support of the over 20 dead. Thank you. Thank you. But we are also here to demonstrate our full solidarity with the over 2,000 people, and these are estimates that are provided by the Iranian regime itself. We're here to stand squarely in support of the 2,000 people who over the course of the past week have been thrown in jail. We all have a moral obligation to stand up, to echo their voices and their concerns. That is what we are supposed to do. And it is absolutely, as Kaveh was saying, it is absolutely unacceptable, in my opinion, for any Iranian to say what has been going on is not of concern to them. What we are talking about are civil rights. Civil rights that you all know full well Iranians have been fighting for since 1906. The reality of the matter is the Iranian government is morally bankrupt. And the individuals who have come forward, standing tall, proud, courageous, these really are, به قول خود ما ایرانی‌ها، این اشخاص با شجاعتی که دارن، با خواسته هایی که دارن، بدون شک فرزندان ستارخان و باقرخان و تقی‌زاده و اشخاص دیگه هستن که همونجوری که همه شما می‌دونید از 1906 این خواسته های مردم ما بوده. خواسته آزادی. The fact that they do ask for civil society to step forward. So let me say this. If there is anyone that can actually threaten the territorial integrity of Iran, it is the Iranian regime. It is not the people. It is not these freedom-loving, peace-loving individuals that you and I and everyone else has been witnessing over the course of the past week. The reality of the matter is that the Iranian government only knows one thing: how to silence people. They are incapable of listening to people. So our obligation is to continue to amplify their voices, is to continue to talk to the people who are the real representatives of Iran, whether it be student leaders, whether it be labor leaders, whether it be teachers, whether it be women activists. Those are the people who have very, very different aspirations than the current Iranian government. So please rest assured, And I really want Iranians to know this, that we are standing in solidarity with them, and we will never tire of it, and we will always stand up for truth and justice and ensure that one day we will have a free Iran. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Wilson, for those powerful words.
سال 1388
استقلال، آزادی، جمهوری ایران. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for participating in that video. A number of the elected officials were introduced, but I actually also just want to acknowledge that we have in the crowd the former Minister of Defense, Mr. Peter MacKay. I'm going to change some of the schedule around, and we're going to hear from some of the elected officials first. I'm mindful of their schedule and the fact that some of them have to leave to be at other events. And the order in which I present them, I apologize if I'm violating any sort of protocol. I'm merely introducing people in light of kind of what I've heard about your schedules. So I'm going to begin with the honourable member from Thornhill, Mr. Peter Kent. He's a former Minister of the Environment.
Thank you. Thank you, and it's wonderful to share the emotion of this meeting. It's a real honor to join with all of you and with the various groups that have come together to create this demonstration, this nonpartisan demonstration of solidarity with the courageous protesters who are demanding change in Iran. And I think it's a reflection of our Canadian democracy, and an honor to stand with political colleagues from all levels of government and across always heard. The people of Iran, the people who have taken to the streets in communities large and small, and in the capital in Tehran, across the country for this past week, are demanding an end to religious and political oppression. They're demanding an end to theocratic corruption and a restoration of the fundamental human rights of free speech, assembly, and political choice. As I very hopefully but anxiously follow developments in the widening protests this past week, the rising death toll, the possibility that some of those in prison may face the death penalty, I reflected onto the powerful promises etched onto the replica Cyrus cylinder that sits on our mantle at home. Promises delivered in ancient times to respect the customs and the religions of all the lands that comprise the Achaemenid Persian Empire. Promises waiting to be delivered again now. Ultimately, and we all know this, ultimately, the long-suffering people of Iran will have to themselves resolve the grievances, their grievances, with the corrupt, rights-abusing, terror-sponsoring, theocratic regime. But it's important, it's terribly important, that Canada and Canadians associate themselves now publicly and passionately, as here today, with the Iranian quest for freedom, democracy, rule of law, and human rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the Honourable Peter Kent. Our next speaker is the MP for York Centre, and he's also the chair of the Subcommittee on International Human Rights as part of the Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs and International Development, Mr. Michael Levitt.
To all of you that have come out here today to express your solidarity with the Iranian people, I say thank you for including me. I'm humbled to stand here before you. To all the organizers of this event, my colleague Ali Assasi, Dr. Maridi, and everybody that has made today possible. Let me begin by saying this. I stand with Iranian Canadians and I stand with the brave people of Iran that took to the streets last week. As the chair of the Subcommittee on International Human Rights, each year we gather. Each year for the last 10 years, we gather to hold the Iranian regime accountable for their human rights abuses. And each year we hear the same stories of oppression, the same stories of terror. Terror against the right to freedom, freedom of speech, the rights of students, the rights of academics, the rights of the media, the rights of the LGBTQ community, to live without fear from being thrown off of a rooftop. The rights of religious minorities in Iran, like the Baha'i, many of whom sit in jails. The rights of women. The rights of women who are denied a voice, who live in fear. The rights of so many Iranians that we just saw rise up with common voice to say enough is enough. We're tired of the repression. We're tired of losing our voice. We want freedom. We want justice. I stand with those people. And let me also say that we hear, and I stand against, a regime that relies on corruption, a regime that relies on terror, not just in their own country, but around the globe. A destabilizing regime through the proxy of Hezbollah and the proxy of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard that seek to destabilize the region. I stand against that too. And finally, let me say, I stand with the need for accountability for the over 20 Iranian protesters, for those brave Iranians that lost their lives in the streets of Iran over this last number of days. I stand for accountability for what happened to them. And I also stand for accountability for the thousands of Iranians that were arrested over the course of this protest over the last number of days, that they should have a voice and that they should also have rights, that their rights be respected, and they not just have the key to the prison cell thrown away and be forgotten. So again, to each and every one of you, to the Iranian Canadians in my riding of York Centre, to Iranian Canadians across this country, I stand with you and I stand with your brave countrymen in Iran that took to the streets to give voice to the hope and freedom that can happen at some point in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Levitt. Our next speaker is the MP from Sherwood Park, Forks, Saskatchewan, Mr. Garnet Genius.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be with you. I first learned about human rights from my grandmother. My grandmother was a Holocaust survivor. She lived in Germany during the Second World War. Many of her family members were killed. The reason she survived is because there were people in her country, brave Germans, who did what they could to help her, who spoke out, against the Nazis, who were willing to hide and shelter a child considered undesirable. These were brave men and women, Germans, who loved their country more than their government did. And I stand today in support of the Iranian people, people who love their country more than their government does. This is a new chapter in a universal human story. Some people would appeal to cultural relativism and say, well, different countries do things differently and that's okay. It's not okay. A former British Prime Minister said it best. He said, anytime, anywhere, ordinary people are given the chance to choose, their choice is always the same. Freedom, not tyranny. Democracy, not dictatorship. And the rule of law, not the rule of secret police. Now, friends, those of us in the West, leaders in the West, must be humble and recognize our limitations. We can't simply proclaim an end to injustice around the world. And this is not our story. But it falls to us to do everything we can to support those who are leading this charge, the Iranian people. We are not the protagonists of this story, but those of us in the audience, we must stand up and applaud the Iranian people and not sit on our hands. We have a role to play, offering support to those in the line of fire, and that is what we must do. And I'm calling on all of my colleagues. You've heard from a number of members of parliament from different parties who are very committed to human rights, but we need more. We need every leader in this country. We need the Prime Minister of Canada. We need the Minister of Foreign Affairs to stand up and be clear and stand with the Iranian people. Friends, this is clear, as was said in the introduction. This is good against evil. This is the people who love their country more against a government who cares more about ideology than it does about the people. I'll close by saying this. I have two small children, and I have hopes for them, hopes that I am able to have because of the freedom that we have in Canada and because of the courage of these protesters. Today, the people of Iran can have the same hopes for their children. They can hope that those children will grow up in a country where they're free to choose their own faith, to choose how they practice it, to express their opinions, to decide what they believe, and to choose who their leaders are. We must stand with the Iranian people. They are paying a much higher cost than we ever will in this country, so we must stand with them. Thank you.
A wonderful speech. Thank you so much, Garnet Genius. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge Mr. Godwin Chen, who's a counselor in the town of Richmond Hill, among us today. I'd like to invite the MPP for the riding of Willowdale, the Minister of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation, Mr. David Zimmer.
Thank you for the invitation to participate in this rally with you. Why is this rally important? I asked myself that as I was sitting here. You know, this rally is important because I pick up on something that was said earlier. We need to help Iranians in their demonstrations in Iran. We need to help them to amplify their message and get that message across the world, in all of the countries of the world, so that the other countries of the world will stand by the Iranians in their pursuits in this way. So if our goal is to help them to amplify their message, to get their message across, I ask myself, what is the message that they're bringing? And I thought about that, and I boiled it down to really its simplest. I sense that what the demonstrators are asking, they're asking for a chance at a fair life, to live their life without fear for themselves, without fear for their families. and they want to live that life in a democratic context. That's all that they're after, but that's one of the highest goals in humanity. And so how do we help them to get that message out, to get their message out? Well, it's rallies like this. It's conversations at work. It's conversations with your friends in the supermarkets. It's making the public broadly aware of the horrific injustices and the need to correct them in Iran. We need to talk publicly about this. We need to talk to everybody about this, whatever their political persuasion, be they young, old, middle-aged, male, or female. We need to publicize this, to amplify the message. And why? I asked myself, why do we want to do that? And I think we have a moral obligation. We have a democratic life here in Canada. We have a good life here in Canada. And we should share those values. We want to make sure, Iranians want to make sure, Canadian Iranians want to make sure that their countrymen back in Iran have that same quality of life, that same sense of fair play. That's one of the things that we're pushing here. And how are we going to do that? Well, we have to let Iranian demonstrators, Iranian citizens know that at the end of the day, we, Iranian Canadians, all Canadians, whatever their background or political stripe or ethnicity is, that we will stand side by side with the demonstrators and we will continue to stand side by side until there is regime change.
Thank you very much, the Honorable David Zimmer. Next, I'd like to invite up to the stage the MPP from the riding of Vaughan, the Minister of Transportation, the Honorable Stephen Del Duca.
Well, thank you very much for the introduction and for the opportunity to be here with all of you today. Of course, we've heard many remarks from many elected officials across all party lines and levels of government. And I have to say, as I listened to the very eloquent and very passionate remarks coming from all of my friends and colleagues, I was struck by something, and I was thinking about this as I drove over to the event this afternoon to be here with all of you. There is a famous saying, and that saying goes as follows: injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Now, I've been truly blessed to have been born and raised here in this country of Canada, where we cherish our freedoms, where we cherish the notion that we live in a democracy, and we cherish the idea and celebrate the idea that we can choose our own future. And as Garnet mentioned, the future of our own children. And I as well have young daughters at home, aged 10 and 6. And when I see the emotionally compelling videos, when I hear and read the news reports, when I listen to my colleague and friend Reza Maridi talk with such passion and energy and enthusiasm for what's taking place in Iran, it's not hard to understand why it's so moving for all of us and for all of you. So I will finish, I don't want to be up here for too long this afternoon, but I will finish by saying that we all stand with you. We all stand with the Iranian community here in Canada. And if there is one thing that I know looking here at this audience and knowing as I do the Iranian-Canadian community, I know you will persevere. You will not give up. And one day, sooner rather than later, you will win on this topic, and we will be with you every step of the way until there is regime change in Iran. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Del Duca. I wanted to let you know the organizers wanted this to be a non-partisan event. The speakers we've had have been from the Conservative and Liberal parties. We did put a request into Mr. Jagmeet Singh, the leader of the NDP, but unfortunately we don't have any NDP members here present. سخنگوی بعدی حقوقدان، نویسنده و فعال حقوق بشر و حقوق زنان خانم مهرانگیز کار.
خیلی خبر دارم، اگه خواستین بهتون میگم. خواهش میکنم. سلام میکنم به جمع پرشوری که اینجا گرد هم آمدن تا همبستگی خودشون رو با بخش‌های معترض جمعیت مردم ایران که کاملا گذار کردند از دوران‌هایی مثل بد و بدتر و بدتر و بد در اینجا حضور داشته باشم. حضور من در جای یک سخنگوی مهمان کاملا اتفاقی است و چون در این شهر مهمان شما بودم لطف کردند و از من دعوت کردند که اینجا چند کلمه‌ای خدمتتون عرض کنم. ایران در 39 سال اخیر و ایرانیان تمام تلاش خود را کردند تا بلکه به صورتی مسالمت‌آمیز از شر این حکومت ناقض حقوق بشر نجات پیدا کنند. می‌دانستند و می‌دانند که قدرت سرکوب نظام جمهوری اسلامی ایران به اندازه است که اگر احساس کند در سراشیبی سقوط قرار گرفته ایران را به آتش می‌کشد. اگر ایرانیان تاکنون با این شعارها که اخیراً شنیده شد وارد عرصه اعتراض نشده اند، از ناآگاهی نبوده، از ترس نبوده و بلکه از روی آگاهی و برای این بوده که شاید از تلفات و ضایعات رژیم چنج جلوگیری کنند و اینک به نقطه‌ای رسیدند که یقین حاصل کردند هیچ یک از این راه حل‌ها نمیتواند آنها را به مقصود برساند. شعارهایی که ما میشنویم همکنون از درون ایران و البته آسان است که از بیرون از ایران از آنها حمایت کنیم، شعارهایی است کاملا مستند به اعلامیه جهانی حقوق بشر که ایران بر آن صحه گذاشته است. به نظر من مهمترین خواسته مردم ایران که می شود گفت ابتدایی ترین خواسته مردم ایران است، بعد از آن که متوجه شدند حتی با رأی دادن به شخصی مانند حسن روحانی نمی توانند کور امیدی داشته باشند به آینده خود، خواهان رفراندوم شدند. رفراندوم بر پایه موازین حقوق بشر و موازین مندرج در اسناد حقوق بشر یک حق است برای هر یک از ملت‌هایی که عضو سازمان ملل متحد هستند و بر اعلامیه جهانی حقوق بشر صحه گذاشتند و 2 میثاق حقوق سیاسی و مدنی و حقوق اقتصادی و اجتماعی را امضا کردند. اما رفراندوم در شرایطی که این حکومت بخواهد آن را اجرایی کند مردم را به نقطه نظرشان نمیرساند. ما نیاز داریم به کمک‌های جهانی، ما نیاز داریم به حمایت‌های غیر نظامی جهانی، ما نیاز داریم به فشار بر سازمان ملل متحد، ما نیاز داریم بر اینکه با توجه به اینکه تاکنون بیش از شاید 69 بار مجمع عمومی سازمان ملل متحد ایران را به نقض سیستماتیک حقوق بشر محکوم کرده است، موضوع به شورای امنیت سازمان ملل متحد ارجاع شود. اما افسوس که از 5 دولتی که حق وتو در شورای امنیت دارند 2 دولت چین و روسیه یقینا آن را وتو خواهند کرد. بنابراین ما در عین حال که در شرایط خوب و می شود گفت متفاوتی در این لحظات قرار گرفته ایم، ولی گرفتاری های بین المللی ما برای اینکه بتوانیم حمایت های جهانی را به طرف شورای امنیت سازمان ملل متحد سوق بدهیم بسیار است. من از همه آقایانی که از سوی دو حزب کنونی حاکم و یا در گذشته حاکم کانادا در اینجا پرشور سخن گفتند تقاضا میکنم که این شور و هیجان را در تصمیم گیری های جهانی وارد کنند و کمک کنند به ایران و فشار بیاورند بر سازمان های جهانی تا رفراندومی در ایران برقرار بشود که در این رفراندوم سازمان ملل متحد ناظرانی داشته باشد. ما یقین داریم که در این صورت بیش از 70% از مردم ایران به رژیم چنج حتما رأی خواهند داد.
Please sit down. Please sit down. با تشکر از خانم کال. Our next truly distinguished guest is a professor of international law at McGill Law School. He is a member of the Permanent Court of Arbitration at The Hague. He is a former war crimes prosecutor at the UN, and this year delivered the very prestigious Massey Lectures. Mr. Payam Akhala.
دوستان عزیز، همکاران گرامی، از برگزار کنندگان برنامه بسیار سپاسگزارم که همت کردند که در این موقعیت تاریخی ما یک فرصتی داشته باشیم که از تلاش تاریخی و قهرمانانه مردم ایران برای آزادی حمایت بکنیم. It is said all that it takes for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. It is our responsibility as Canadian Iranians, but more importantly as human beings, to raise our voice, to bear witness to the suffering of those who have the courage to stand against bullets and batons on the streets of cities and towns and villages across Iran. I worked with the United Nations for a number of years as a prosecutor, and outside the hall of the General Assembly there's a beautiful Persian carpet which was donated by the Iranian government many years ago. There's a poem on that carpet from Sa'di, one of the great Sufis, one of the great mystics who represents the richness of Iranian culture. And we all know that poem as Iranians. Bani Adam azay yek digarand, ke ze afarinesh az yek goharand. All human beings are members of one whole, created in essence of one soul. That is the message of human rights. That is why human rights must become the core of our struggle for a better future for Iran. The poem goes on to say, you who have no sympathy for human pain, the name of human you cannot retain. That is why it's our responsibility to speak in defense of the oppressed. Because if we maintain our silence, we cannot call ourselves true human beings. شکنجه و خشونت علامت قدرت نیست، علامت ضعف. Torture is not a sign of power, it is a sign of weakness. A government that can only speak with its people through violence is a government that is bankrupt, is a government that will not last. The choice is very simple. Do we stand in solidarity with thieves and murderers? Or do we stand in solidarity with the mothers who have lost their children, with those that have been subject to torture and rape in the prisons of Iran, with those that have to live in misery and poverty, who cannot feed their children in a country of such incredible prosperity? So I would like to ask our elected leaders to please appeal to the Honorable Prime Minister of our country. To choose the side of the oppressed, to choose the side of those that seek justice and human rights, and to speak out clearly and emphatically in favor of the historic struggle of the Iranian people. I hope Prime Minister Trudeau, for whom I have great admiration, will rise to the occasion and make this statement. دوستان عزیز، من دیگه وقت شما رو نمیخوام بگیرم، فقط میخوام حضور شما عرض کنم که ما 40 سال برای 40 سال جمهوری اسلامی به ما خشونت و نفرت تحمیل کرده و ما مبارزمون باید بر اساس انسانیت و حقوق بشر باشه. پس بذارین به جای حرف مرگ حرف زندگی بزنیم. زنده باد مردم شریف و شجاع ایران، زنده باد ایرانیان آزادیخواه. از تمام شما سپاسگزارم.
Thank you so much, Dr. Akhaman. We've been speaking a lot about the brutality of the Iranian regime today. Few people know the brutality of the regime as well as our next speaker. Our next speaker is Iranian-Canadian. On a visit to Iran, he was arrested in 2008 on bogus charges and brought before a kangaroo court. He suffered under solitary confinement and was ultimately sentenced to death. It took, please. It took a true international campaign spearheaded by his brave wife Antonella to bring him home. Please welcome our next guest, Mr. Hamid Qasemi Shah.
خیلی متشکر آقای شهروز، آقای دکتر مجدی، خیلی متشکر آقای علی احساسی، خیلی متشکر که این ایونت رو گذاشتید اینجا. من میخوام امشب فارسی صحبت بکنم که هم بتونم درست صحبت بکنم و همه متوجه بشن چی میخوام بگم. این تصاویری که هممون شاهدش بودیم، این اتفاقاتی که اخیراً در ایران افتاده بسیار جدی هستش و من شخصا نگرانیم اون چند هزار نفری هستن که الان در سلول‌های انفرادی به سر میبرند و هیچ کسی رو ندارن که ازشون دفاع بکنه. من در اون سلول‌ها بودم و میدونم چی کشیدن. در سال انتخابات 88 من در بند 240 زندان اوین بودم به همراه برادرم. سلول‌های بسیار کوچکی هستش، شاید 8 فوت با 6 فوت، و به خاطر ازدحام زندانیان در حال حاضر و حتی در سال 88 در هر اتاقی، در هر سلولی شاید چیزی حدود 15 تا 20 نفر رو جا میدن به خاطر اینکه جا ندارن. و طبقه پایین، طبقه سوم اون ساختمون 240 دست وزارت اطلاعات هستش که اتاقای بازجوییشون هستن. این همه زندانیان شجاع ما داریم که فقط و فقط به خاطر آزادی، به خاطر حق مسلمشون، به خاطر اینکه پدرانشون سال 57 انقلاب کردن که آزادی و دموکراسی در ایران بیارن، اینها فرزندان همون پدر و مادر هستن که الان خودشون به زندان افتادن متاسفانه و نیاز به حمایت ما دارن. من از تمام ایرانی‌های مقیم خارج از کشور، علاوه خصوص کانادا، درخواست میکنم که با نوشتن نامه، با تلفن، آقایون نماینده‌های پارلمان که اینجا ساپورت خودشون نشون دادن، ما احتیاج به ساپورت بیشتر داریم. به دولت کانادا فشار بیاریم، به آقای ترودو فشار بیاریم، وزیر امور خارجه فشار بیاریم که با کمک کشورهایی که دوست کانادا هستن فشار به دولت ایران بیارن که آزادی بی قید و شرط این زندانی‌ها را هر چه سریعتر فراهم کنند. متاسفانه این رژیم آخوندی به این سادگی ها تن به آزادی کسی نخواهد داد به خاطر سابقه بسیار سیاهی که در این مدت 39 سال داشته و تنها و این نظر شخصی منه، به خاطر اینکه بنده در موقعیت اون دوستانی که الان در زندان هستم بودم، شاید به مراتب موقعیت من بدتر بوده، ولی از موقعیت من بدتر اینا نمیتونن داشته باشن. من الان بیرون هستم فقط و فقط به خاطر حمایت هایی که شماها کردید، همسرم کرده و دولت کانادا از من کرد، باعث شد که من برگردم به کانادا. من این صحبتامو با این جملات تمام می‌کنم که واقعا این آزادی خواهانی که در زندان هستن الان احتیاج به کمک ما دارن. بیایید از همین امروز شروع کنیم به نامه نوشتن، تلفن زدن به نماینده‌های پارلمان، به نماینده‌های ایالتی، بخوان از دولت کانادا، بخوان از جاستین ترودو، بخوان که صریحاً موقعیت خودش و پوزیشن خودش رو مشخص بکنه که کجا ایستاده در قبال مردم ایران، در مقابل آزادی خواهی مردم ایران. خیلی متشکرم. زنده باد ایران، زنده باد ایرانیان، برافراز باد پرچم سرنگ شیر و خورشید نشان. خیلی متشکرم ازتون.
Our next guest is a well-known human rights activist and an entertainer. She has worked tirelessly on a variety of human rights issues, primarily stopping child executions. Gives me great honor and pleasure to introduce to you Ms. Nazanin Afshinjan McKay.
Thank you very much. I'd like to take this second to thank Kaveh Shahruz for the past couple of weeks being such a great spokesperson for the Iranian-Canadian community. You've really been out there for us. I'm also very happy to be here with my family, my father, my husband and 2 children to show our support and solidarity for the people of Iran. Showing our support for the winds of change that have swept across Iran, all throughout the country, not just in Tehran. And it's been a long time coming. 40 years of repression finally exploding out onto the streets in the form of frustration, anger, and dissent. So what can we do here in Canada as Iranian-Canadians, just as Canadians, as human beings, to help support the Iranian people? We must show our unequivocal, positive, strong support for the Iranian people, and that includes our Prime Minister and our elected officials. We must show that this issue is of grave concern to us, to the media. I thank all the media that has been here today and that have been covering these stories. Without this, people would not understand the gravity and continue on with this. So we have to continue to pressure our media that this is a story of concern. Now, more concrete actions that we can take. We can pressure for the Senate to rush ahead Bill 219, which sanctions the IRGC. We can demand for more asset freezes and travel bans on Iranian officials trying to come to Canada, trying to invest. And what the Iranian people need, they need their communication channels open. So we need to provide them with more servers, proxy servers, internet access. And how we do this, again, we can pressure our own government, Canada, to support this, other Western leaders to support this. And if they're not willing, well, us as Iranians, we can gather together and fund something to be able to provide to them. The West's main concern with Iran has been the nuclear question. We have to drill the point that a stable, democratic Iran that's based on human rights and the rule of law will no longer be a threat to the free world, as opposed to this apocalyptic Islamo-fascist regime that is in power now. So the solution is easy. We're basically serving it on a silver platter to them. If they support the Iranian people, we will no longer face this threat. So the least we can do is to show our moral support to the Iranian people. In our lifetime, I am convinced that we will see a free Iran. It's only a matter of time. Zinde bad Iran.
Thank you so much, Ms. Afshin Jan-McKay. Our next speaker is a human rights activist, a former student activist, and a former political prisoner in Iran. He was detained in 2009, served time in Iranian prison, unfortunately alongside his father. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Ashkan Yazji.
درود خدمت دوستان، ممنون که تشریف آوردین تو این سرما. من راستش یه جمله رو مارتین لوتر کینگ میخوام بگم. مارتین لوتر کینگ میگه که تو جریان مبارزه نیروهای میانه رویی هستن که به نظم بیشتر از عدالت اهمیت میدن، که مانع بزرگتری در راه رسیدن به دموکراسی از افراطیون هستن. احتمالا اون زمان هم دفرمیستا و عافیت طلبا بودن که مارتین لوتر کینگ همچین جمله گفته. در صورت من میخوام بگم که الان مردم تو داخل کشور دارن تابوهای آقای خامنه‌ای رو میشکنن، دارن سیاست خارجیشو نقد میکنن. این همه دستگاه پروپاگاندای گوبلزوار آقای خامنه‌ای خامنه‌ای رو دارم میرم وقتی پرچم سردار عارف آقای بهنود رو میکشم پایین، یعنی اینکه شکست کامل سیاست خارجی آقای خامنه‌ای. وقتی دارم میگن نه غزه نه لبنان جانم فدای ایران، یعنی سیاست فلسطین محوری آقای خامنه‌ای شکست خورده. وقتی که مشکل معیشتی دارن نمیتونن ببینن مردم دیگه به سطوح اومدن، نمیتونن ببینن که قرنیه‌اش رو یکی بره بفروشه، یکی بره کلیه‌اش رو بفروشه، مادر بره بچه‌ش رو بفروشه که آقازاده و خانمزاده جمهوری اسلامی بیان تو آمریکا و کانادا بشن تو نایت کلاب‌ها اشغال کنن. بشینن تو مدیریت 30 ساله های خامنه‌ای و که هیچ کس حاضر نیست جواب بده بابت عملکرد نامناسبش که کشور رو رسونده به ورطه نابودی، یا توضیح بده که آقا من چرا اومدم برنامه هسته‌ای رو انداختم که مردم بذارم زیر سایه جنگ و تحریم و فشار، یا توضیح بده که آقا من چرا رفتم تو سوریه وقتی که فاصله بین حرم با اینجایی که دارن میجنگن که برای بشار دارن میجنگن، مدافعین حریم بشار با هم کلی فاصله داره. باید بیاد بگه که برای چی، بر اساس چه توجیه منافع ملی رفته داره اونجا داره میجنگه. مردم هم تو از هزینه مردم ما خرج میکنه برای اینکه دستگاه پروپاگانداشو به جهان بیاد بگه او این من دارم از بشار دارم از حرمین دفاع میکنم، در صورتی که داره بشار داره دفاع میکنه. باید بیاد توضیح بده آقای خامنه‌ای، باید توضیح بده که این ما الان شرمنده اون کودک سوری هستیم که میاد جنازش میاد لب آب. به عنوان ایرانی واقعا من شرمندم، نمیتونم، من خوابم نمیبره وقتی میبینم بچه 13 ساله رو میگیرن میکشن. من نمیدونم چجوری ایشون خوابش میبره شبا. من خوابم نبرد اون شبی که عکس اون بچه 13 ساله، همونطوری که سال 88 وقتی اشکان سهرابی رو دیدم که تو دانشگاهمون بود، بچه‌ای که تازه اومده بود دانشگاه، وقتی دیدم قیافه‌شو من دیدم این معصومیت، بچه 18 ساله گرفتن کشتن که 2 روز بشینن بیشتر حکومت کنن، خجالت هم نمیکشن. بعد من یه چیزی داشتم همین الان داشتم میمونم توییتر رو داشتم چک میکردم، یه ویدیو اومده بچه‌های اهواز، بچه‌های دبستانی اهواز هستن، فکر نکنم مثلا 7-8 سال بیشتر دارن شعار مرگ بر خامنه‌ای میدن، بچه کوچیک. ما بشینیم اینجا، بشینیم تو کانادا یه دونه تظاهرات میخوایم بیام 100 لایه دور خودمون شال ببندیم که چیم اگه خواستیم عید بریم ایران پل طبیعت بریم عکس بندازیم. یه کاری کنیم یه خورده سعی کنیم منافع جمعی داشته باشیم بدون که منافع فردی و خانوادگی داشته باشیم. بشینیم به خودمون فکر نکنیم، بشینیم به جمعمون فکر کنیم، بگیم همه برگردیم ایران، عید همه ایران باشن، نه اینکه یه عده خاص برن ایرانو برگردن اینجا آبجو بخورن، به دولت تبخیر و فریب آقای روحانی رأی بدن و بشینن بعد تعریف بکنن. از لابی جمهوری اسلامی تو کانادا نترسیم. اینا نه آدمای تحصیل کرده هستن، نه دغدغه حقوق بشری دارن، نه چیزی راجع به بدبختی که مردم دارن داخل مشخصا از ICC دارن نام میبرن، نه ازشون بترسیم. من احترام میذارم به کسی که اگه هلپر فیزیوتراپیست احترام میذارم، ولی اگه قرار باشه یه هلپر فیزیوتراپیست بیاد بگه آقای منتظری داخل احمد منتظری تو ایران چرا فایل جنایت جمهوری اسلامی رو تو دهه 60 روشن منتشر کرده، بعد ایشون بیان اینجا بیان بگن که من رفتم این مدارک رو جمع کردم که کانادایی‌ها متوجه نشن که تو جمهوری اسلامی چه خبره. ما باید صدای اون جنایتایی که تو ایران شده باشیم که به جهان بگیم که آقا تو این 38 سال اینا چیکار کردن، چه بلایی سر خانواده آوردن، این همه آواره کردن که ما مجبوریم آخر سر برگردیم بیایم تو زمستون تو دمای منفی 30 درجه بیایم بگیم که آره جمهوری اسلامی اینجوری و مردم بیاین چیز کنین. این درست نیست. ما باید کنار مردم باشه، صدای اون مردم باشیم که همه امیدشون به ماه. من وقتتون رو نمیگم، ایران هرگز نخواهد بود.
خیلی متشکرم آقای یزچی. دوستان به پایان برنامه امروز رسیدیم. میخواستم از تمام برگزار کنندگان برنامه تشکر بکنم. ازشون یکی یکی نام نمیبرم چون تعدادشون زیاده. فقط بدونین که خیلی زحمت کشیدن در زمان بسیار فشرده. اگه کم و کسری دیدین به خاطر این بود که زمان کم بود و کار زیاد. I want to really thank our elected officials. I hope that you will take this message back to your caucuses, to the leaders of your parties. And همونجوری که اول کار گفتم، این پایان کار نیست، این تازه آغاز کاره. استقلال، آزادی، جمهوری ایرانی.